There's something about being out there with the spectators and the crew and the pacers and your competitors that just kind of, at least for me, makes it feel like, okay, we're all in this thing together that we're enjoying and appreciating. And it just is, the sum is greater than its parts.
Okay, let's talk about the mental side of it. It takes a lot to run 100 miles. I'm obsessed with understanding why people do that. And obviously I have a podcast where I've inquired about this question hundreds of times. The first time I went to Western States, I think was 2018. And I remember sitting in coffee bar, asking people on Thursday and Friday this was before I had the podcast, why are you doing this? And the number of people that answered along the lines of well, it's easier than doing a 5K. And because I just like being outside, I was like, there's something interesting here. And I've got to figure out what it is. So I've continued asking that question literally hundreds of times. And I'm curious for you, why are you lining up for Western States?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I kind of feel like my answer is in line with what you were saying. I just really like running, and that's just a long day of running. You get to be outside, and I love being warm. I hate being cold. So I really feel like Western States is great for just being warm all day.
Riley, Forrest Gump, Brady. I just felt like running.
Yeah. I mean, with something like Western States, I do think the community plays a role in it. You go to the Foresthill aid station, and it's just,
it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just feeling like you're in this with other people. And there is something that is exciting about that. Emil Durkheim has this term, collective effervescence, that is, referring to this elevated state that people enter when you're doing something with a group of other people. It's a fancy way of saying mob mentality.
Yeah. But mob mentality is we're going to make crazy decisions because we're a group. What you're describing is more of we're all better because we're all better.
Yes, but I do think there's almost an altered state of being that you get to step into during these races that you aren't necessarily getting if you're just going out and doing a long training run alone. There's something about being out there with the spectators and the crew and the pacers and your competitors that just kind of, at least for me, makes it feel like, okay, we're all in this thing together that we're enjoying and appreciating. And it just is, the sum is greater than its parts. And I don't know if I'm articulating that well enough.
So as you're saying this, I'm envisioning experiences I've had running the Boston Marathon where things felt effortless at mile 25, right? You get dumped into Kenmore Square, and there are 5 different entry points from the road, and the baseball game the Red Sox game has just gotten out, and there are drunk people everywhere screaming in a good way. And you just you don't hurt in that moment. Is that because of all the people?
I think that's part of it for sure. Yeah, when you're racing, to me, it's you've stepped into a different state of being for the day. And I think being in those moments of flow state where, you're not really feeling like you're in discomfort, you're just kind of
what's that like?
Rolling.
To be whoa, I'm at 70 miles and I feel good.
I feel like it's great, when you're not struggling and suffering, it feels good to feel good. But I've been doing this now long enough and have done enough races that I know that there are going to be ebbs and flows throughout the day. And so, you might be at 70 miles and feeling great. And so it's sweet, I'm going to take advantage while I feel this.
Yeah. So getting into that mental state, okay, let's say you're at mile 70 and things feel brutal. You have more than a marathon to go. My context on this is the longest I've ever run was 42 miles in the Grand Canyon. And that took 13 hours. And so that's the most movement I've ever done in a day. I did 4-pass loop where I bonked at mile 3 and I didn't come back from it. So I have context to understand 25 miles of bonking, but not but that was after 3 miles.
Yeah. I don't feel like I've bonked in a very long time. If I'm struggling, it's because I'm throwing up. That is my number one problem out there. And in comparison to puking your guts out, everything else feels fine and manageable. Like, if you're a little low energy, it's like, all right, well, we'll just keep rolling and the energy will come back. At least I'm not puking everything up.
Right.
So that's sort of my my bar.
The bar's low, I suppose.
Yes.
So that's a funny way to look. Right. Again, context is everything. It could be worse.
Yeah.
Is what that's what you're saying. What are you looking forward to most?
At Western States?
Besides the heat.
Yeah. I am looking forward to rolling through Foresthill.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of a pivotal moment in the race. And I think once you get to Foresthill, the hardest parts of the course are over at that point. And so if you can roll on to the finish, it could be a pretty quick
40
segment
miles.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you walk people through the course?
Yeah. So you have about a 3-mile climb at the very start, and then you're kind of up on a ridge.
Very much underselling the climb.
I mean, I feel like the first climb is not that, it's like Fire Road, you know?
Yeah, but it's like 15% grade, 20%. Anyway, It's very steep in places.
Yeah, but you're starting.
Sure,
So you're running on adrenaline.
Stoke is high.
Yeah, exactly. Sun's coming up.
Yep. The most beautiful sunrise on the planet happens.
Exactly. And people are just cheering at the top of the escarpment. Like, you're going through a cheer tunnel up there. But anyway, it's all downhill from there. Yeah, you hit that top point and then it's just downhill to the finish line.
Easy enough. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the canyons are in there. So once you pop out from the canyons, that's when you're headed up to Foresthill, that kind of pivotal aid station. And then you continue to run downhill basically until you get to that last climb going up to the finish line. So yeah, net downhill. I'm just telling myself you hit that highest point and then it's all downhill from there.
There you go. Hit the high point, 3.5 miles in. And it's just smooth sailing for the next 97 miles.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not bad. I assume that some people listening to this will be running the race potentially for the first time. What would you tell those people?
I think taking care of yourself is key with any 100-miler, and then particularly with hot 100-milers. As much as I love the heat, that doesn't mean to just fully embrace the heat and go no cooling. Like, I think we're at a point in the sport where it's like everybody, regardless of where you are, should be wearing ice bandanas, staying wet. Keeping that core body temp down is really crucial.
Definitely. I also assume that a bunch of people who are listening to this will be spectating. What do you want them to say to you along the course?
Oh, man. I don't know. I'll take any cheers they have.
Awesome.